Well, ho, 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 I guess, everybody. Welcome to our Christmas Spectacular for Week 17 here with Mike and the Feather. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are getting ready to head into the last 2 weeks of the regular season in the NFL. Crazy to think about it. Even crazier are how some of these games have been going, the results, and how so many divisions are still each week up in the air as far as who's going to come out in first and who's going to be out of the playoffs. Last week so far, since we are recording this on Monday, the Colts and the 49ers have not played tonight yet, but we're 7-7 and 1 on last week's picks, the one being a push on the Giants-Vikings game. Unfortunately, 0-3 on our ticket to the bank picks, but you know what that makes me think about with Christmas? You know, It's a Wonderful Life, and Mr. Potter wants to rob the bank of all their money by causing, fake things to happen. That's kind of how the NFL games were this week. Stuff that you could not control caused a run on the bank. The bank is now 0-3. The bank has been suffering for a few weeks, but the good thing is at the end, there will be angels getting their wings, or hopefully it's our viewers getting their money. So we're back again. We're not going to quit. We don't quit. That's how you keep going. I guess that makes sense. So welcome back in. Happy holidays, whatever you're celebrating or not celebrating. Happy Monday. You ready for this?
Let's do it. Yeah, last week was it was all right. I mean, it's one of those things that people wonder the difference between having a 10 or 11 win, week against the spread and being 7-7 and 1 with 1 to go. Very frustrating year.
How about the Raiders giving Houston a run for their money? The Raiders, who usually can't score, suddenly start scoring against the best defense in the entire NFL.
Or the Giants, who literally, freaking J.J. McCarthy, who's been playing good the last couple weeks, he goes out. They have the Hammenegger quarterback come in, and they still just hold a 3-point win, and they push. So the difference of the margins of actually winning 10 or 11 picks as opposed to going 7-7 and 1 is such thin margins.
That's why they say, too, if you're a professional sports bettor for the NFL, right, in general, you have to be 55% of your time being accurate is considered great.
Right.
Because it's almost 53% you have to be right just to break even. So it's
52,
it's
whatever.
Margins.
But super frustrating. We just keep plugging away, keep doing what we do. It's been a wild year, but you know what? We're going to keep plugging away. We're going to be here for you guys. We're going to make these picks, and I can't wait till the playoffs because it's going to be a lot of fun. That's one thing's for sure.
Well, let's get past Week 17 so we can get to those playoffs, and we're going to start with 3 games on Christmas Day. Kind of sucks you got to play on Christmas, but at least for some of these teams who aren't playing for anything, unfortunately. Although I guess the Cowboys still have some kind of outside chance.
No, they're out. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the first game, Christmas morning. It's the Cowboys at the Washington Commanders. Cowboys on the road are favored by 6.5.
These 3 Christmas games are a complete shit show, pardon my French, because 3 of these teams are going to have backup quarterbacks or third-string quarterbacks even. And we don't even know what some of the quarterbacks are going to be. But the way it's looking right now, you're going to have a Dallas team against a Washington team that, their quarterback, it's not even going to be Mariota most likely. It's going to be the next guy. Which right now, off the top of my head, I don't even know his name because he's not relevant. He's a player that's been in the league for quite a while for Washington, kind of a journeyman. But one thing I can say about Dallas is Dak Prescott is playing really good football in general. I mean, he's on pace to probably have the most passing yards in all the NFL.
And I found it fascinating to hear that no Dallas quarterback has ever held that distinction.
Yeah, no Dallas quarterback's ever got it. So it'd be a first, and there's been some great Dallas quarterbacks over the years. George Pickens actually had a good game. He had taken the last couple weeks off, and he had a monster game this last week. And CeeDee Lamb was a little bit quiet. But this team in general, their defense had looked good for a couple weeks, and then they went back to normal this last week against the Chargers, and the Chargers took it to them pretty good. This game is the most meaningless game ever. It's a division rival that doesn't like each other very much. Washington on a third-string quarterback, I can't figure that at 6.5 points they can keep this game close. There's just no way I'm going to go that route. We're going to take Dallas minus 6.5 to cover the spread. It's meaningless, so who knows how hard Dallas will play. I would hope that they're going to keep playing hard as usual. Washington's going to give their effort, but they just don't have the weapons to take on Dallas. Dallas minus 6.5.
The middle game on Christmas is going to be the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings, another division matchup. The Vikings already eliminated from the playoffs. J.J. McCarthy might be eliminated from the season until next year. Who knows? He's back at the 10th again this past week. But the Lions, coming off of their loss to the Steelers, are -6 and needing to win. They need to win out here.
The Vikings lost their quarterback and their backup running back. So it's pretty much down to Aaron Jones at running back, which, he's good. But Mason had been a nice 1-2 combo. Justin Jefferson actually had some fantasy stats and caught some balls, but yet he's been a disappointment all year long. Not his fault, more so the quarterback position that has created that issue. It's unbelievable. This game, once again, a backup quarterback from Minnesota going to be coming in, technically the third-string quarterback that's now going to be the starter most likely in this game against a Lions team that now must win. They have to win out. Green Bay has to lose out for Detroit to get in the playoffs. Otherwise, they're going to be out. And Detroit has a tough game against Chicago at the end of the year. So this is a must-win for the Lions. The Lions, like I said, their defense has been a detriment to them all year long due to injuries and just in general playing poor defense. And you can't be a championship team if your defense is terrible. The Cincinnati Bengals proved that. No matter what Joe Burrow did over last year, it did not matter because the defense was that bad. Detroit's defense is a little bit better than the Bengals, but that being said, this team is in a world of hurt now after losing yesterday at Pittsburgh. Thank you, Aaron Rodgers, for helping out the Green Bay Packers. We appreciate that, getting that bump. But in this case, Detroit on the road in a game that was set up initially when the year started. You would think maybe, hey, this is a possibly a big game for the division or whatnot. That is not the case. One team is out. One is trying to survive. Detroit will get it done just because the quarterback situation is so bad in Minnesota that Detroit can't win this game and cover 6 points. Enough said. So Detroit -6. Boom.
All right, and Christmas Eve game, again, here's one. I don't think this is so much about who's going to win, although after the Broncos lost yesterday, who knows, but it's more about the spread here. The Broncos are 12.5 on the road at Kansas City, who, again, Gardner Minshew out with an ACL tear. So they're on their third string. I can't remember his name either, but that's where the Chiefs are at. That's where the Chiefs season has gone from the dynasty. Third string quarterback starting on Christmas Eve.
Boy, if you would have said by week number 3 that the Broncos would be 12.5-point favorites in Kansas City on Christmas,
yeah,
I tell you, people would have thought you were on drugs. In this case, the Broncos, 12.5 points, they're going up against, once again, a third-string quarterback. And I don't know his name either, okay? I didn't put it the name because it's irrelevant. The Kansas City Chiefs are irrelevant. They showed what they have left in the tank and the heart they have against the Tennessee Titans. The Broncos, they have a long memory of KC putting the wood to them and basically running up scores and taking them out hard over the last 8-9 years. So the bottom line is I think the Broncos, after coming off a loss, they're going to play hard in this one, and they're going to be merciless. The Chiefs, I don't see a path that they don't lose by 20+. So very simple. Take the Broncos -12.5. I don't think the Chiefs have anything left in the tank. Boom.
All right, 2 games on Saturday. That would be starting with at 1:30 Pacific time, the Houston Texans at the LA Chargers. Chargers are 2-point favorites at home.
This game is interesting. The Texans, who their defense is outstanding, okay? Number 1 defense easily in the NFL. But their offense, when C.J. Stroud plays poorly, this team's offense is terrible. And I don't think anyone had on the bingo card that literally that the Raiders would have that game in doubt against Houston the whole game. Like, the Raiders had a shot all the way till the end to win that game. And that's because C.J. Stroud played terribly. And this offense, Nico Collins did nothing, and this offense just was stagnant. But the defense did enough, although surprisingly gave up quite a bit of rushing to, Ashton Genty. And this team definitely had their problems against the Raiders. But in this case, it's you got the Chargers, who their big issue is the offensive line. Big Joe Alt went out, their number 1 draft pick. He's out for the year. The offensive line's got its share of problems. Can they hold up against a team that has a great pass rush? And that's what I think is going to be the issue going forward, that when they get into playoffs, if they're up against a team with a great pass rush, they're going to be in trouble. I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball successfully, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Justin Herbert off of his back. That's going to be put to the test in this huge game where the Chargers look good on offense. Justin Herbert, still healing from his broken left hand, faces up against a juggernaut of a defense in Houston. And in this case, I think defense is gonna take the day. We're gonna go with the Houston Texans +2 on the road, underdog. I think they're gonna win the game outright. I think the Chargers are gonna slip up, and it's gonna be because of the fact that they are not gonna be able to hold up well against this defensive pass rush and this defense that's gonna shut down Justin Herbert and this offense. Texans get the win, +2, boom.
And Saturday night, your team is going to be at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens now possibly without Lamar Jackson with an injury. And the Green Bay Packers, we know Jordan Love sustained a concussion in the first half of this week's game. But right now, as it stands, the Packers are 2.5-point favorites at home. And I think we're not sure exactly who's going to be available for this game as of Monday, obviously.
I mean, Malik Willis got, slammed down hard and hurt his shoulder. So this could be a third-string quarterback situation again. I want to be optimistic, and I think based on the spread, Las Vegas is optimistic that either Malik Willis or Jordan Love are going to go. But Lamar Jackson might not go, and it might be Huntley. So once again, more backup quarterbacks playing. Baltimore's in a very tough spot. They're in a must-win situation. Basically, it's very simple at this point. If Pittsburgh beats Cleveland, doesn't matter what Baltimore does, they're done. It's over. Green Bay is due to the fact that Pittsburgh beat Detroit, they're in a great spot. They win 1 out of the last 2, or Detroit loses 1 out of the last 2, and Green Bay is going to be in the playoffs. Here's the key for Baltimore. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had 2 rushing touchdowns, and then after that, he did have his fumble situation again, which has been a problem this year for him. But he basically didn't get the ball again after he scored his second touchdown. And obviously, Lamar Jackson went out. But New England, some people say there's some bad calls in the game and stuff like that. But in the end, New England took it to him in the second half. And yes, with no Lamar Jackson, so that made a difference. But Zay Flowers, this offense has to run through Zay Flowers. He had a really good game last week as well, or yesterday. But he also fumbled the ball in a critical moment that cost him the game as well. So fumbleitis has killed Baltimore, and turnovers have killed Baltimore this year on a defense that has improved much. Green Bay's defense held up strong against Chicago. The crazy onside kick reminds us 2016 or whenever it was against Seattle when we were dominating that game too, and then we ended up not going to the Super Bowl because of an onside kick blunder. Here we go again. I think Green Bay is still in good shape. They end up winning the last 2. I think Chicago very well could lose the last 2. I think San Francisco and San Fran is going to be a tough matchup for them, and then they go play Detroit, which if Detroit's out of it by then, we'll see how hungry Detroit is. But, hey, Detroit likes to play spoiler. They did it against Green Bay a couple years ago. So in this case, very simple. If Jordan Love or Malik Willis plays, take Green Bay -2.5 to cover the spread. If they both do not play, just don't touch the game because it's at Lambeau. I think Green Bay can gut out a victory one way or another under the circumstances. But as long as it's Love or Willis playing at quarterback, Green Bay gets it done. Boom.
All right, let's roll over to Sunday. And speaking of all that, it's like onside kicks are like your Minnesota Vikings field goals. If you can eliminate them from the game, you guys would be in more championships than anybody would know of. Sunday morning, the Arizona Cardinals take on the Bengals in a meaningless game. Joe Burrow looked like he had fun this past weekend, though, airing the ball up for over 40 points. The Bengals are a touchdown at home, -7.
Yeah, we're not going to spend much time in this game. The Bengals had a great offensive output this last week, but it was against Miami, a broken team, a broken franchise, and it's going to stay that way for the near future. The Cardinals, on the other hand, they didn't look too hot either this last week. Trey McBride let down all the fantasy owners, and there just wasn't a whole lot going for Arizona in this last week. Now it's a battle of 2 pretty bad teams. We'll see how hard the Bengals are going to play. The Bengals are at home, but their defense is pretty poor. And Jacoby Brissett, one thing about him is he put up some pretty good offensive numbers up until this last week. Now they're going up against a really bad defense. Who's going to play the hardest in this game? I think it's going to be the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to stay within the 7. I think the 7 points is too much. We're going to take the Cardinals plus 7.
Second up is the Seattle Seahawks are at the Carolina Panthers. Let's remember the Seahawks narrowly defeated Phillip Rivers 2 weeks ago. They had a hell of a comeback against the Rams on Thursday night. Now they're taking on the Carolina Panthers, who we mentioned earlier. You don't know what to expect with the Panthers. Right now, Vegas is giving the Seahawks on the road -7. How do you judge this one?
I mean, the key for the Seattle Seahawks is Jackson Smith and Jigba. This guy, another really good game. He's had a monster season. And the key element that I spoke about, I think, last week is Rashid Shaheed, who came over from New Orleans. Great dynamic receiver. He got it going against the Rams when he had that punt return for a touchdown. Was it a punt return or kickoff return? I can't remember. I think it was punt return. Either way, special teams touchdown from him that sparked the comeback that was probably one of the best games of the year and one of the greatest comebacks you'll see, of the year for sure. This offense, now you got a case where Kenneth Walker came up big. He'd been kind of quiet. He looked really good. Obviously, the defense struggled. They gave up 500 yards of offense plus to Matt Stafford and the Rams. Now, on the other side of the ball, you did see some more Sam Darnold, late season or playoff type behavior, through, I believe, 1 pick six, I think it was, or close to it. And had the turnovers were definitely a problem for Seattle. And somehow they overcame them. I mean, it was the first time in history a team lost when, had a positive turnover ratio of 500 yards of offense, and then they still end up losing the game. So that was crazy. Now Seattle's going up against a Carolina team that keeps shocking people. Just when you think Carolina's, not good or they're a fraud team, they go and they beat another team. Now Carolina is the leader in the division and does control their destiny to win the division and get in the playoffs. Up against a Seattle team that's the number 1 seed in the NFL, and they're holding on by thinnest margins, with San Francisco, the Rams, and the Bears right on their heels. So what's going to give here? It's in Carolina. Seattle's having to make quite a road trip. But this Seattle team that, has had essentially a mini bye playing on a Thursday night is in kind of a really good position and a good place all around to come into this game and get it done. Will they is the question? Yes, they will. Seattle's going to get this one done. -7 on the road. Take it to the bank. The Seattle Seahawks are going to continue their winning ways and hold on to the number 1 seed for at least one more week.
Following that one, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road at the Cleveland Browns. Steelers got their 9th victory. They could actually have 10 victories in a season if they win one of these next 2 games. And the Browns are coming off of the near upset of the Buffalo Bills, although you could also say the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen had his worst fantasy statistical game of his career, which tanked us for fantasy, but you know what? Them's the breaks. The Cleveland Browns, the Steelers obviously are the favorite on the road, -4.5.
Yeah, the first thing we're going to address is DK Metcalf. What a bonehead. I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday, but DK Metcalf felt the need to go into the stands of Detroit. And I don't know what, I've heard rumors that somehow the Detroit fan had some sort of DK Pittsburgh shirt that said DK's full legal name. And I don't know if that's true or not, but his full legal name, and he doesn't like his middle name or whatever his full name DK stands for. Regardless, if a fan went onto the field and touched a player, they would be arrested, they'd be criminally charged, and they would be banned from the NFL games the rest of their life. But he took a full swipe at him and got to walk away as if that's not a crime in any other place in the world. He's probably going to be suspended. He probably should be suspended this week. He probably should be suspended next week. This isn't as bad as the fight in the Detroit, basketball, Detroit, Indiana, where Ron Artest ran into the stands in Detroit. Enough said on that. Hope he gets suspended, and might cost Pittsburgh their playoffs if they lose the next 2 games. Now on to this game. Who knows? I mean, Shedeur Sanders, he didn't play particularly well. He had some nice runs. The guy's very mobile. The Bills definitely took that game off on both sides of the ball. The only thing that was good about the Bills was James Cook. He looked outstanding. But this Cleveland team does not have it. I think this Pittsburgh team, who has been without T.J. Watt, their defense stepped up. Their Kenneth Gainwell, who's become the Christian McCaffrey for this team. He's a great pass catcher. He's a good runner. He's a dynamic runner. And the 1-2 combo with him at running back has been outstanding. They still don't have a receiver to throw the ball to because DK's in the stands getting in fights, and no one else seems to be able to catch the ball except for 300-pound tight ends, which, almost costed them when he fumbled the ball, which when you're 300-plus pounds and 6'7", that's pretty athletic. But you know what? You're going to have a hard time holding on to the football. It's just how it goes. This is an interesting game in Cleveland. Myles Garrett needing one more half a sack to get tie the record, one sack to get the record. And I think he's going to get it against Aaron Rodgers, which would be irony considering Michael Strahan got the record against Brett Favre. I think Myles Garrett gets the record, but Pittsburgh gets the win in the cover. Take Pittsburgh -4.5 to get it done, to get the W, get in the playoffs, and eliminate Baltimore Ravens from contention.
Saints on the road at the Tennessee Titans, -2.5 Saints.
Saints are living proof that teams maybe don't always tank for draft picks.
Yeah, that is true.
They don't even know how to lose correctly. But this game against the Titans, I give the Titans the Titans could not. Titans would love to probably had a top draft pick again, but beating the Chiefs probably was the cherry on top for them, and they played hard that game and got the W. So that was pretty outstanding. The Saints look really good. They looked really good yesterday, and based on who they were playing, that makes sense. In this case, Saints-Titans, it's a toss-up. It really is. This is a game. Don't bet it. It doesn't pay to bet it. But in this case, it's a tough call. It really is. I mean, I'm kind of been on the fence about this for the last day and a half, trying to decide what to do. But the Saints are not at home. That's a key factor. They're on the road in Tennessee. The Saints are a different team traditionally when they're not at home, especially since Drew Brees has not been the quarterback. So we're going to go with the Tennessee Titans to get some momentum and string 2 wins in a row together. Take the Tennessee Titans, underdogs at home, +2.5. Boom.
That leads us up to the middle of the afternoon, and that is taking place in Florida at the Miami Dolphins. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers sail over there. Obviously, the Buccaneers are now, after this skid, they are on the outside looking in on the playoff race after the Baker Mayfield miracle. Potential MVP Baker Mayfield at the start of the season, that they have sunk the ships. But at this point, they are 5.5-point favorites on the road at the Dolphins, with the Dolphins having their bench Tua, and now we're on this backup Ewers. What is
Ewers,
it?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Buccaneers, here they start out the year, and their injuries are vast. They lose Mike Evans. They don't have Chris Godwin. They lose Bucky Irving. What happens? Baker Mayfield, the guy is a juggernaut. He puts the team on his back, and they get these wins. And people are like, how are they winning these games? But now they get all those players back healthy, and they can't win a game to save their life. And it's just unbelievable. And the defense has been the problem for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team for sure. But the other problem is does Todd Bowles not like Bucky Irving? Because Bucky Irving, this guy is dynamic and a beast. But for some reason, whenever they get down to the goal line, they don't ever want to run Bucky Irving on these goal line plays for potential touchdowns. The guy is he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's definitely the best running back they have, and they need to utilize Bucky Irving better if they want to win these football games. Emeka Egbuka has been non-existent. Like, literally put him on a milk carton because it's been about 8 or 9 weeks where the rookie wall is real because he hit it and he hasn't got back up. Mike Evans has been a pleasant guy to come back. He's been doing some good things. But this team all around is disheveled and all kinds of messed up. They're still live because of the fact that Seattle plays Carolina. So and one would think Seattle's going to win that game. I feel like it's going to be a sure shoo-in that Seattle's going to beat Carolina, which means this Buccaneer team is way live against a Miami team that is just terrible. We saw last week on Sunday, how Miami looked. Backup quarterback. Achan's the only guy they have in that team that's worth a salt. Waddle, he's dying on the vine with no one to throw to him. Very simple. Take the Buccaneers -5.5 to the bank. Baker Mayfield's going to get it done. They're going to find a way to get the win and have hope going into Week 18 for that last playoff spot to win the division.
Let's talk about another team that had high aspirations for the playoffs and now, once again, looking up at the rest of the field. We are recording this before Monday night's game where the Colts take on the 49ers, so we don't know how the Phillip Rivers experiment part 2 is going to go yet or if any injuries are happening. Right now, the line on this game, it's the Jaguars at the Colts, and the Jaguars are 6.5-point favorites after coming off of being 3.5-point underdogs against the Broncos. The 12-2 Broncos. 12-3?
12-3 now.
12-3 Bronco.
Yep.
Don't want to do math, told you. Well, what do we do here? How do you pick this one?
The Jacksonville Jaguars, I can tell you now, maybe one of the biggest trades during the season was getting wide receiver Jacoby Myers, who was unhappy being a Raider, which I'm pretty sure everyone's unhappy being a Raider. Even living in Las Vegas, being a Raider is rough, okay? It's rough sledding. Trevor Lawrence looks outstanding. Trevor Lawrence, the last 6-7 games, has been off the charts, really solid. And definitely played outstanding football last 4 in particular. Their receivers are responding big time since Jacoby Myers got there. Brian Thomas Jr., he's kind of woke up a little bit. This offense, Travis Etienne, this offense all around, they're playing great. Trevor Lawrence is scrambling around, running for first downs, easy peasy. The defense is looking really solid. They came into Denver and just took it to Denver. Okay, so this Jacksonville team, it's a pleasant surprise. Most people did not figure Jacksonville to be a team that was going to be in contention this year at all, and they sure didn't expect them to beat Denver. And now they're in a game against an Indy team that, unfortunately, injuries, losing Danny Dimes, and the heart and soul of the team. Can the Colts hold on? And it's a tall task with a 44-year-old quarterback in Phillip Rivers. Jonathan Taylor can only do so much. Rivers tried his best last week, and he almost got Seattle, which is super impressive. But I don't see it. I don't see Jacksonville be able to Jacksonville should not have a problem going into Indy and taking care of this game. Now, granted, we haven't seen the game today, so if Phillip Rivers, does his throwback and throws for 300 yards and beats San Francisco, maybe we got to reassess, okay? But we haven't seen that yet. I don't foresee that being the case. So we're going to keep it simple. We're going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. 6.5-point favorites. If you would have said week 1 that this would have been the spread, or week 5 it would have been a spread, everyone would have laughed at you. But that's where we are. The NFL is moving parts all the time.
Yep. Well, let's follow up one lopsided game with another. It is the New England Patriots on the road at the New York Jets. Patriots still in control of the division. The Patriots, though, have a benefit here of playing the Jets, and they are 12.5-point favorites on the road, whereas their nemesis, the Bills, will have the Eagles coming up. So definitely an easier task for the Patriots here.
It's pretty nice for the Patriots to get a bye this late in the season. So,
But the question is, can they cover 12.5 against the Jets team?
That's the key, right? And that's been the key to this NFL season. Patriots played super hard against Baltimore, did what they had to do to keep control of the division and to fight for potentially the number 1 seed still, right? Drake May still looking like the lead candidate for MVP for sure. Josh Allen, after his struggled game against Cleveland, you could wipe that off the board. So here we go against the Jets. The Jets have no one at quarterback. They don't have any heart, and this team is pretty much where it's been for the last many years, in the toilet. Will they cover the spread, though? Will the Patriots cover, or can the Jets stay within 12.5? In this case, I think a backdoor cover is going to be our friend. So we're going to take the Jets plus 12.5. Too many points. I think, it might even get to a situation where it's like a 17-point lead or something like that for the Patriots potentially. But backdoor cover is going to spoil the day. Take the Jets plus 12.5. Boom.
The battle for the Giants to keep the first pick in the NFL draft, as they're going to come on down here this weekend to the Raiders. And how sad is it that I've had multiple people offer me tickets to this game, I just honestly am not up for dealing with watching two trash teams, even my trash team, dealing with the parking, dealing with all that nonsense after the holidays. After Christmas, I want to do it till next year. Nothing other than one more podcast next Tuesday. So make sure you like and subscribe. But here we go. My Giants are on the road at the Raiders. Raiders are the 1.5-point favorites. The Giants don't need to win. The Raiders suddenly decided to have a showing this past week against Houston after putting up 0 against the Eagles a couple of weeks ago. It's like, I don't even know how you judge what's supposed to happen in this game.
Do not bet this game or you are a degenerate. It's just that simple. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, the bet should be laying odds on whether Max Crosby is going to concuss Jackson Dart. That's probably the big bet, because we know Jackson Dart tends to get into concussion protocols most of the games every single year.
Can you bet on that? Like plus over half a concussion?
I mean, this game's gross. I mean, the Raiders are favored. That says it all. They played well this last week against Houston. It could be just fool's gold, and Houston just played to their competition. I don't know. In the end, this game's not relevant. Don't even want to talk about it. We're going to go with the Raiders at home, -1.5, because even the Raiders can't lose right to get draft picks. But I believe the Giants are smart enough to know that they're better off trying to get the number 1 draft pick overall. And the Raiders are dumb enough to actually win this game. So, very simply, Raiders -1.5 to get it done.
All right. Well, the last game on the Sunday afternoon slate is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Buffalo Bills. Picked this as our matchup of the week because it's more of an important game for the Bills than anything. Obviously, the Eagles have no threat of their spot in the playoffs in the division for the playoffs. But the Bills at home are 2.5-point favorites. And I think if the actual Josh Allen shows up, this could be a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I'm sure Josh Allen will do better this week. I need him to, because I have him in a few fantasy leagues. Unfortunately, we need him for our third place game. So hopefully Josh Allen wakes up and actually plays some good football. The Eagles are also a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team. Their defense looked rough in a few games. Then they looked better. Of course, they look better against the Raiders, like most people do. They looked okay. Saquon Barkley looked good. This last week, Saquon Barkley actually has strung together 2 back-to-back, decent games. Well, actually, is it back-to-back? I don't know. At least 2 out of the last 3 games, Saquon Barkley has put up some good stat lines. So that's a positive. A.J. Brown continues to have big games. And Jalen Hurts in general had a pretty solid game this last week. And the defense, Cooper DeJean, he looks solid. This team all around is firing a little bit better than what they have been.
Good timing for that.
Which is a good time. Now they're up against Buffalo at home. And Buffalo at home is very tough to beat. That is a key factor in my decision in this game. I think James Cook is going to be the X factor. He's been really good all year long. Will there be a receiver that steps up for Josh Allen? Keon Coleman, he was a healthy scratch again. So they must be huge issues with this guy. I mean, he was someone that was going to come in there and be pretty dynamic potentially. And he must be obviously a problem child in the backdrop, because they just healthy scratch him. And they need receivers for real. So here we go. Big game at home. And the difference is going to be Buffalo at home. It's a whole different team. Buffalo needs this win more than Philadelphia. And not that that's the big key factor, but I feel like Josh Allen is going to not have another poor game. I think they're going to get it done, and they're going to win this game by 7+ points. Take the Buffalo Bills to get it done. -2.5. Boom.
So let's talk about a game you might have an opinion on. We actually debated this could also be the matchup of the week just because of the way the standings are, but team quality-wise, maybe not so much. Sunday Night Football is the Chicago Bears. Unfortunately, I hate to remind you, it's the division-leading Chicago Bears coming off of a questionable win against the Packers. I'll be honest about that. They are on the road at the San Francisco 49ers, who look absolutely solid, but again, have not played yet tonight before we're recording this, so never know about injuries or anything else odd that happens. Right now, Vegas has them 49ers at home, -2.5 against the Bears.
We'll address this quickly. Blind squirrel gets a nut, applies to the Chicago Bears beating Green Bay. Okay, it's that simple. They were not the better team. Anyone that watched that game knows that Green Bay is and was the better team that day. it was an absolute miracle. It took 10 or 12 different things to happen to make this win happen for Chicago. We'll leave it at that. They're not the better team. Chicago's not arrived. They're not this juggernaut. Caleb Williams made one pass that shouldn't have been even a play because there was offensive holding blatantly. If you go back and watch the footage, I challenge you to go back and look at that and say it's not true. But anyway, hats off. The Bears won. It was a fluke. Good job. But in the end, it won't make a difference because the Bears still suck, and they will continue to beat themselves like they have for 40 years. Moving on to the 49ers, they haven't played yet today, so it's hard to say where that's going to sit. But I believe Purdy's coming into his own again after being injured for most of the year. Their wide receivers are healthy. Juwan Jennings is playing well. Ricky Parasol's coming into his own after being injured for a good chunk of the year. Christian McCaffrey, he's staying upright. The man is the Swiss Army knife of the team. He does it all. George Kittle coming on strong lately. This defense, which is cobbled together, losing their two best players and two of the best defenders in the entire NFL, still finds a way to win games. And they are going to be able to, it looks like, control their destiny in a lot of ways if they win out. So what a game this is for both teams. Chicago needs it to pretty much lock up the division. But if they lose, it opens up Green Bay to possibly win the division. So where are things going to lie in this one? San Francisco at home, and I believe is a better team all around than the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears defense is mediocre at best. I think that, granted, Chicago was missing Roma Dunze and Burden against Green Bay, so I'm gonna honor that and say that's the case. But I don't know if they're gonna have either one of those players by this week either coming up. But I do know that DJ Moore did step up and he's playing a little bit better. But in San Francisco, traveling, from the Midwest to San Fran has all this momentum. As long as their players stay healthy, meaning McCaffrey and Purdy stay upright and healthy, this is going to be a very easy one, okay? This is literally as free a money as you can possibly get, okay? I've had one guaranteed pick this year, and I went 1-0 on it, okay? This one, guarantee number 2. Take the San Francisco 49ers to the bank, buy the bank, pick it up from its frame, and take it home with you because it is yours. Take the Niners to roll the Bears. Easiest game of the year by far. Boom.
You sound a little bit confident about that one.
A little bit.
All right.
Feeling good about it.
Well, let's finish off the Christmas week of games on Monday night, just a few nights before 2026. That's insane. That is.
Where does
insane.
the year go, right?
And how many years since the Giants have won a Super Bowl? Come back, Tom Brady. We got to beat you again.
Jeez.
Monday Night Football is the LA Rams on the road at the Atlanta Falcons. Rams are -8 right now. They're coming off of a sick overtime loss to one bird team. Now they got to face the Falcons, who you don't know what Kirk Cousins is going to do. You don't know what Falcons team is going to be there. The Rams should win this one. They probably will win this one. Will they cover? Is it going to be a double overtime game with kicks and field? Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
The Rams took a devastating loss, okay? They did everything right except for win the football game. Puka Nacua, obviously he's, needs to work on just getting off of social media. And, he talked a lot of trash about other teams and what other teams are fake and real and pretenders. And he broke a lot of unwritten rules on social media, spewing trash. And then he also... it's one thing for us to do that, but we're not playing. I'm not spewing trash about my peers, you know what I mean? So the bottom line is Puka needs to play football, which he had a great game. He obviously wasn't distracted by this social media thing he did because he had a monster game. And he's young and immature, and he'll grow up, you know. But they just need to play football. It's that simple. Play football, focus on the game. Sean McVay has them locked in. They're a great team all around. They had no Devonta Adams this last week, which was huge. Seems how Devonta Adams is a touchdown monster. Atlanta, Bijan Robinson. Finally, they used Bijan Robinson the way they need to. They need to keep running him. Instead of just keep in Bijan we trust, okay? You just give him the ball and he'll make things happen. Kirk Cousins on the other side, he's playing because he's playing his heart out because he believes he's still a starter in the NFL. He feels he should be a starter for another team. It's not going to be Atlanta, going forward. Although it might be because now Michael Penix with his injury, will he be ready to go next year? We'll see. But Kirk Cousins is playing for his future, which is huge. Drake London is back. That's a step up. They're in Atlanta. Atlanta is definitely a different team at home. We know what they did to the Bills in Atlanta. So is it far-fetched to say they could do the same against the Rams? It feels like it is, but you know what? This Atlanta team doesn't have a first-round draft pick, I believe, so they're not playing for draft picks, okay? I think they're playing for pride. I think that Kirk Cousins is a competitor till the end. I don't think that Atlanta's going to win this game, but I think the 8 points, the key number being that 8, is too much in this case. We're going to take the Atlanta Falcons +8 to stay within the spread with a slight chance of an upset in the event that for some reason the Rams travel West Coast, East Coast, and they come out flat. But I wouldn't hold up my hopes on that, but I would hold my hopes that the Rams win by 7 or less. Boom.
All right, that's all of the games on Christmas, after Christmas, and right before 2026. Once again, heard that right. It's 2026 coming up.
Crazy.
And how long since the Packers have won a Super Bowl?
2010.
You'll get there. You're a little ahead of the Vikings.
We'll get there before the Bears, and the Vikings,
all right,
and Detroit.
Guys. Thank you guys for watching. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
Happy
everybody.
New Year if you don't bet Week 18. We'll be back here next Monday again, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, probably Monday or Tuesday next week. We'll see how it goes for New Year's week, but it's been fun, guys. A lot of crazy ups and downs, and this football season's been different than any other for sure. And everyone have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and until then, take it to the bank. Boom.